Last night, you went to bed at 10 p.m., slept for 8 solid hours, and woke up feeling like you barely slept at all. Sound familiar? You're not alone. Millions of older adults are hitting the pillow on time, only to rise with aching joints. In fact, the real problem might be hiding in the habits you thought were harmless, or even helpful. What if I told you that 5 small things you're doing at night, things as simple as a glass of water or the way you unwind, are silently sabotaging your entire next day? Comment below, what's one weird bedtime habit you've never questioned until now? And now, it's time for the intro. 3, 2, 1. You know, just last week, my old friend Walter, he's 70, lives 2 doors down, stopped by with a cup of chamomile tea in hand and a confused look on his face. He said, "Mark, I don't get it. I'm doing everything right. In bed by 10, up by 6. That's a full 8 hours, isn't it? So why do I still feel like a zombie in the morning?" I just smiled. Because I knew exactly what he meant. I've had that same foggy feeling after a full night's sleep. And if you're watching this, chances are, you have too. Here's the truth most folks don't realize: it's not about how long you sleep, it's about how well your body and brain go through the night. And sadly, for many of us over 60, the quality of that sleep gets quietly wrecked by small nighttime habits we never even think to question. I'm Dr. Mark Leland. After 4 decades practicing internal medicine and now living a quieter life up here in the Oregon foothills, I've had the privilege of listening, really listening, to hundreds of stories from folks like Walter. People who aren't lazy, aren't sick, and aren't depressed, they're just exhausted for no clear reason. But there is a reason. In fact, there are 5. And they're sneaky. We're talking about common, everyday things: having a little snack before bed, checking one last email, sipping an extra glass of water. Harmless, right? But when those habits stack up, they chip away at your body's ability to recharge, heal, and restore itself while you sleep. That's why I'm making this video. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through the 5 most common nighttime mistakes I've seen destroy energy and recovery in older adults. Then I'll show you what to do instead: simple, realistic changes you can start tonight. You'll meet people like Linda, 68, who swore she had chronic insomnia until we fixed her dinner schedule. Or Henry, 72, who thought fatigue was just part of aging, until we changed one small routine and turned his mornings around. My goal here isn't to lecture. It's to help you reclaim the kind of rest that leaves you feeling strong, focused, and ready to live, not just survive, each day. If you've been wondering why sleep doesn't work the way it used to, you're not broken. You're just missing a few crucial pieces. Let's find them together. Alright, now that we've talked about what's quietly draining your rest each night, let's get into the part one love most: what you can do about it. I'm not here to sell you supplements, fancy mattresses, or miracle devices. What I'm about to share are 5 simple things. No gimmicks. Just habits that respect how your body naturally works, especially after 60. Let's start with something that sounds almost too obvious, but makes a world of difference: stop drinking water 90 minutes before bedtime. I call this the 90-minute rule, and it's something I learned not from a textbook, but from my own bladder. In retirement, I started drinking herbal tea while reading in bed, and guess what happened? 2 trips to the bathroom, every single night. It wasn't until I pulled that cup of tea back to 7:30 p.m., not 9, that I finally got to sleep through until dawn. I now tell my patients, let your bladder sleep with you, not against you. And they laugh, but they also thank me. That tiny adjustment gave Walter his uninterrupted nights back, and now he swears by it. Second, and this is a big one, no screens 30 minutes before bed. That means turning off the news, closing the tablet, and yes, putting your phone down. Blue light messes with your brain's melatonin like a streetlight shining into your bedroom window. But it's not just the light, it's the stimulation. A dramatic news headline or scrolling through grandkids' photos can trigger just enough mental activity to delay deep sleep by an hour or more. When I first suggested this to Linda, she was skeptical. So what am I supposed to do? Stare at the wall? I smiled and said, no, but maybe you let your brain unwind the way it used to. She dug out an old radio from her garage, started playing soft jazz around 8:30, and kept only a warm amber nightlight on. A week later, she called me with tears in her voice. Mark, she said, I just slept through the whole night. For the first time in 5 years. It wasn't magic. It was a quiet mind, and a darker room. Third, let's talk rhythm. I'm not talking about music this time, I mean your sleep rhythm. Set a consistent bedtime and wake time, even on weekends. Your body loves routine. Think of it like a train track, once your internal clock is on schedule, it runs smoother. But if bedtime jumps between 9 p.m. and midnight, your body never knows when to wind down. This is especially important for couples. When one stays up to watch TV while the other goes to bed, they're sending their bodies in two different directions. I advised Mr. and Mrs. Patel, both in their late 60s, to set a shared bedtime, 10 p.m., lights out. After a few weeks, not only were their mornings more refreshed, but they said it made them feel more connected, too. Like we were dating again, Mrs. Patel said with a smile. Fourth, and this one might surprise you, keep dinner light and early. I recommend finishing your last meal by 6:30 p.m. and keeping it simple, soups, steamed vegetables, maybe a bit of protein if your stomach handles it well. Heavy, greasy, or spicy foods late in the day force your digestive system to work overtime, which can mess with everything from your dreams to your heart rate. Remember Henry? He was waking up groggy and foggy every morning, convinced he had a sleep disorder. But once we moved his meatloaf and mashed potato dinners to earlier in the day and swapped them for lighter evening meals, his wife called me a month later, Mark, he's like a new man. I didn't realize food was stealing his mornings. It's not just what you eat, it's when. And finally, perhaps the most powerful tool of all, get your worries out of your head and onto paper. I call this the worry notebook. Keep a small journal by your bedside. Every night, right before bed, take 5 minutes to write down everything that's circling in your mind, big or small. Then close the notebook. That simple act tells your brain, okay. We've dealt with it. Now it can wait. I started this ritual myself after retiring from full-time practice. There were nights my mind raced, did I do enough for my patients? Will my kids be okay? What comes next? Writing those thoughts down doesn't erase the concerns, but it frees your sleep from having to carry them. You don't need to be a writer. Just be honest. One of my patients, Dolores, 71, calls hers her quiet place. She says, it's like putting my thoughts to bed, so I can go too. None of these solutions require money, medications, or drastic changes. They just require awareness, and a little patience. Start with one. Give it a few nights. Then add another. Over time, your sleep won't just get longer, it'll get deeper, more healing, more restorative. And that's the kind of rest we all deserve. Let's keep walking this path together, because here's the truth, even the simplest habit, when practiced with intention, can completely shift the way your body rests. If you've ever told yourself, I've tried everything, I want to challenge that today, with 5 powerful changes, each tested not in some lab, but in the quiet bedrooms of people just like you. Let's begin with something that may feel almost too small to matter. Stop drinking water 90 minutes before bed. Yes, hydration is important. Yes, older adults are often told to drink more water. But when you drink it matters just as much as how much. I call this the 90-minute rule, and it's saved more sleep than any prescription I've ever written. Think of your bladder like a neighbor who's always on high alert. If you give it work to do right before bedtime, don't be surprised when it wakes you up, knocking at your door at 1 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. and again at 5. One of my patients, Mr. Jacobs, used to pride himself on staying well hydrated, drinking water all the way until bedtime. But after gently shifting his last glass to 7:30 instead of 9 o'clock, he called me and said, "Mark, I think my bladder finally forgives me." It's a little thing, but it helps your whole system rest, together. Next, we tackle what I call the digital storm. Screens, phones, tablets, televisions, have become the lullabies of modern life. But for those of us over 60, they're anything but soothing. The blue light disrupts your circadian rhythm, sure, but there's another effect, emotional overdrive. Beverly, 69, loved ending her day watching crime shows. But she didn't realize that every cliffhanger and plot twist was winding her nervous system up, right when it needed to come down. When I suggested she replace TV time with music, she hesitated. "Won't that be boring?" she asked. We compromised, 20 minutes of classical music, played from an old CD player she dug out of her attic. Within a week, she told me, "I wake up feeling like I actually slept. I forgot what that felt like." That's what happens when you let your mind soften, not spiral. Third, this one is all about rhythm. Set a consistent sleep schedule. This isn't just for kids. Your body, especially as it ages, craves rhythm. Our internal clocks don't like surprises. Going to bed at 9 one night, midnight the next, is like flying to a new time zone every weekend. I worked with a couple, Jim and Helen, married 45 years. He liked to stay up reading, she liked to go to bed early. The result? Disrupted sleep for both. After some conversation and compromise, they both agreed to wind down at the same time, 10 p.m., every night, including weekends. A month later, Helen said something that stuck with me: "It's not just the sleep, it's the peace. We end the day together, and that matters." Shared rest is still rest, and it's powerful. Now let's talk food. Specifically, dinner. If your last meal is heavy, spicy, or eaten close to bedtime, your digestive system doesn't get to rest when you do. That internal activity keeps the body slightly alert, even when your eyes are closed. Henry, whom I mentioned earlier, was a perfect example. He loved hearty dinners, roast beef, buttered rolls, dessert. But he never realized how much his digestion was stealing from his recovery. With a little guidance, he shifted to lighter fare, vegetable soup, steamed greens, a small slice of baked fish. He also moved dinnertime up to 6:15. The change was dramatic. His wife told me, he doesn't hit snooze anymore. He just gets up, clear and calm. What we eat isn't just fuel, it's a message to our bodies. And before sleep, the message should be, rest is coming. Finally, let me share with you something I consider sacred, the worry notebook. This isn't a journal in the traditional sense. It's not about deep reflection or poetic writing. It's about giving your brain permission to put down the weight it's been carrying. Each night, take 5 minutes. Write down what's bothering you. It doesn't have to be elegant. Just name it: "I'm worried about the doctor's appointment. I feel guilty about not calling my daughter. I can't stop thinking about what I forgot at the store." Then close the notebook, and physically set it aside. That motion, the act of putting your thoughts somewhere safe, signals your brain to release. I've used this for years. After I retired, I thought I'd be free from worry. But what came instead was a flood of unspoken questions: who am I now? What do I do with all this time? Instead of lying awake thinking, I wrote. And it helped. One of my former patients, Carmen, 73, even named her notebook. She called it the thought basket. She said, "Every night, I drop my thoughts in, like old receipts. Some matter, some don't, but none come to bed with me." So there you have it, 5 steps, each gentle, each doable. I'm not asking you to change your life overnight. But if you try even one of these tonight, you may wake up tomorrow a little more rested, a little more yourself. And if you try them all, night after night, well, I've seen people reclaim entire decades of good sleep. And that, to me, is worth everything. Dr. Mark leaned slightly forward, hands folded gently in his lap, and looked directly into the camera. His voice was steady, kind, with just the right weight to carry both wisdom and warmth. Let me leave you with something simple, he said, but something I wish someone had told me years ago. A good night's sleep after 60 isn't just a dream, it's a skill. And like any skill, it takes attention to the small things. He paused, letting the silence settle, as if offering space for reflection. It's not about hitting some magic number of hours. 8 hours of broken, shallow sleep won't carry you nearly as far as 6 hours of deep, uninterrupted rest. So remember this, just because the clock says you slept, doesn't mean your body agrees. He smiled, soft and sincere. The older we get, the more our bodies ask us to listen. Not rush. Not push. Listen. And that includes preparing for rest, not just collapsing into it. Sleep, at this stage of life, is no longer automatic, it's sacred. It needs ritual, care, and kindness. A cool room. A quiet hour. A softened heart. These aren't luxuries. They're essentials. Mark rested back against the cushion, a flicker of memory passing through his eyes. What steals our energy isn't always dramatic. It's rarely loud. More often, it's those little habits we shrug off, the late snack, the forgotten water glass, the worry we carry into our pillows. And over time, they chip away at the one thing we all need more of, real rest. Not just sleep, but restoration. He looked up one final time, voice low and thoughtful. So if nothing else stays with you today, let it be this: the body doesn't age alone. It asks for help, gentle help, nightly help. And when we give it that, we wake not just with less fatigue, but with more life. Dr. Mark leaned back slightly in his chair, the kind of chair that had seen its fair share of stories, warm, worn in all the right places. He glanced toward the window, where the light was beginning to soften into that familiar amber hue of evening, then turned gently back toward the camera, a kind smile in his eyes. If you're watching this and thinking, maybe it's time I relearn how to rest, I want you to know, you're not alone, he said. There are millions of us, yes, us, on this very same path. After decades of raising families, working long hours, carrying worries we didn't even know we held, sometimes we need to rediscover how to simply let go. He folded his hands quietly. And it's okay that it doesn't come naturally anymore. It's okay if some nights still feel restless. What matters is that you're here, choosing to care. Choosing to pay attention. That alone makes you braver than most. Mark's tone softened even more, as if speaking directly to one viewer out of thousands. If something in this video made sense to you, touched something personal, or reminded you that your sleep, and your health, still matter, I'd love for you to share that below. Because somewhere, someone else may be scrolling through, wide awake at 2 a.m., and your story might be the one that gives them hope. He smiled again, gently this time, almost fatherly. And if you'd like to keep learning, healing, and growing together, go ahead and subscribe. I'm not here to preach, I'm here to walk beside you, one night at a time. A brief pause. Then, with quiet certainty. After 60, our health is no longer about fixing what's broken, it's about honoring what still works. And trust me, your sleep is worth that honor.